Well, the world has sure gone nutty, buddy, even downright buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Welcome back, buddies, to another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Joining me today is my new buddy, Tracy Daily, from the wonderful organization known as Emma's Footprints, located right here in Erie, Pennsylvania. Tracy, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I love your introduction. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Tracy, you're with Emma's Footprints, a nonprofit organization that helps families who have dealt with pregnancy loss. Could you give us the history behind this organization?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I am Emma's mom, and I was pregnant with our second child. Pregnancy was going along smoothly. I had a great first pregnancy, and had a little boy from that first pregnancy, Jackson. Growing our family. Second pregnancy, and there was a day in May that I had felt no movement from the baby. We didn't know if she was a boy or girl. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon. It was Memorial Day weekend of 2007. And I had sat down that night and thought, when's the last time I felt the baby move? And it's like, I'm busy with a toddler. Didn't give it much thought. The next day was Memorial Day. We went to some picnics and had that same feeling all day. When have I felt the baby move? Still didn't do anything about it, and then woke up then Tuesday, the next day. I was like, I should call the doctor. So called the doctor. They said, drink some juice and get in here. I said, okay, I'll be up. My husband's working, and I have a toddler at home. So went up to the doctor's office, and they did the Doppler, which is like a device that they put on a pregnant belly. I heard a heartbeat. Apparently it was my heartbeat. And they were moving around the office very quickly, and it's like, you need to get to the hospital right away. I'm like, okay. That's when I called my husband. I was like, hey, they're sending me to the hospital. Can you meet me there? So I went to the hospital. And I had brought my next door neighbor to take care of. I had my toddler with me at home. And so she kind of handled him. They sent me up to the floor. I got in the gown all by myself, got into the bed, and an OB came in and did a sonogram. And so that's when he looked at me and said, I am so sorry, there's no heartbeat. And I was 8 months pregnant. And just then my husband and my mom came running into the hospital room. My mom works in the hospital in the lab. So, and who doesn't call their mom when, something's going on? And I say all that stuff, like that story like that, to say never once did I think that my baby was dead. Not once. Didn't think, I didn't know what to think, but I didn't think that. Even when I had heard like the heartbeat on the Doppler, I was like, I didn't know that was my heartbeat. I just think there's, women don't really know a lot about their pregnancies. And I especially did not know that babies could die when you were pregnant. Had never been, around that. But as now, Emma will be 16 this year. So I've been a grieving mom for almost 16 years. And I've learned that this happens so frequently. It's just nobody talks about it. So it wasn't that, when I was pregnant that, this is so rare, this doesn't happen. That's why it's not talked about. No, it happens frequently, but nobody talks about it. So that's why I didn't know. I don't know if I would have thought, like that Sunday when I hadn't felt movement, if I would have thought, oh my gosh, like my baby could be dead, would I have done something different? I don't know. Right, hindsight is 20/20. But I've learned a lot being a grieving mom these past almost 16 years.
Mm-hmm. From that loss came this beautiful organization, So that was obviously the inspiration that inspired you to do this work today. What was the spark underneath that started the flame of the organization, I should say, like after all this?
Yeah, great question. So we left the hospital, delivered Emma, obviously found out she was a girl, and went home into a very dark period in my life. They don't send you home with a manual on how to get through this. There was basically no support around me. People show up for the first couple days and then they don't, because obviously their lives are happening, and this is a really hard topic to talk about. We went on to have 2 more boys after Emma, and so I want to say the first 5 years, between 4 and 5 years after Emma died, I don't remember a lot. It's really dark in my memories, and I know now that's because I was grieving. I didn't know I was grieving at the time. How funny does that sound? I didn't know I was grieving, and I've learned that when you don't talk about your baby that has died, like your memories are just really dark, and it's really hard. It's an interesting place to be in, to live and to have other babies and take care of your living children, but then still have this part of you ripped out that's never acknowledged. So I want to say that it was really bad for a long time. And then I had a friend who is the co-founder of my organization. She suggested that we do a March of Dimes team in memory of Emma. And so, again, that was between like year 4 and 5 after Emma died. And it surprised me because nobody ever said Emma's name to me. So I was like, oh, you said Emma's name, and you want to do a family team like with her name? And so that was that's kind of where this all kickstarted. And I was like, yeah, I would love that. And so we did March of Dimes walks for 2 years, and we raised money for them. And while they're a phenomenal organization, they do not help families that have experienced a pregnancy or infant loss. That's not their mission. And so, I just felt this tug on my heart that there's more. I was happy getting to, parent my 3 living children at home and maybe hold a couple fundraisers and talk about Emma and donate the money to a nonprofit. I was great. But that's not what God had for me. So I had to Google, how do you start a nonprofit? I had no idea. This was not, a dream I had as a little girl growing up. This is not what I went to college for. I was an accounting major. So I printed out the steps of how do you start a nonprofit and started, crossing them off one by one.
Wonderful. How many families do you think you have helped to this day?
We have helped almost 2,000 families, and this is the 8th year of our organization. So that's the average now. Obviously in the beginning, nobody knew who we were and what we did. But now people know who we are and they know what we do. And so it's about 25 families a month on average that we help.
Wow. And what are the types of services that you offer them, that you can provide for them?
So the bulk of our mission expenses, we pay for funerals and cremations. We pay for headstones and urns. We pay for counseling with our phenomenal LCSW, Pam Pressler. And then we send every family a care package. So those are, what we spend a lot of our money on.
That's wonderful. Now, it's a very tough mission. It's a very impacting mission. What helps you stay focused on it? What helps you focus on helping these families?
I think the fact that this was not around when Emma died. I did not have that kind of support that we offer now. And so just remembering that, I was the mom in that bed that was told my baby had no heartbeat, we had to, my husband and I were a young couple. We had to figure out, we chose cremation. We cremated Emma. We had to figure out how to pay for that. And then there was no counseling around that really specifically, focused on this. And even if I did know a counselor, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. Again, we were a young couple. And so what drives me is the fact that we're creating this community where families don't have to go through what I went through.
Mm-hmm. And on top of this, you have fundraising events. You have the Winter Gala. You have the Memorial Walk. Could you tell our viewers more about those events?
Yeah. So our Winter Gala is coming up on March 4th. I think we have, 5 weeks left. That's held at the Ambassador Center. This will be our 8th gala. And that is a night where, I kind of say it's like Emma gets married every year. It's like we're holding a wedding for her every year. And, we plan the food. We do seating charts for our guests. We create this experience, and we get dressed up and we do it. And then, it goes by in a flash, and then we have to do it again the next year. So we kind of joke about that. And our Memorial Walk is held in October. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And now last year we had walks in 3 different locations. So we had one in Erie at Penn State Barrand. We had our first walk in Pittsburgh at North Park. And then we had a walk in Melbourne, Florida. So as you can tell, we've been growing, and we're helping a lot of families in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. We track our families by county. So there's a lot in Allegheny County that we're helping, mostly because there's families that if a baby might get life flighted to Pittsburgh, to receive care down there. And then if the baby passes in Pittsburgh, the family is from Erie, so they know about Emma's footprints. So the word just gets out about what we do. And then people call. Mm-hmm. So last year we said, hey, listen, we've been helping a lot of families in Pittsburgh. We got to start raising some money down there, and let's put a kind of a stake in the ground, and let's hold a memorial walk. So yeah, we had 3 walks last year.
Wow, that's a lot of steps.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you guys are growing. You guys, you started in just 2007 from this to where you are today. What about the future going forward? What are your hopes and dreams for the future of this organization?
Well, it's kind of terrifying to think about. When we first started this, we met with a friend of my co-founder, Kristen's, who had helped some nonprofits before, and we had lunch with him. And we were sharing our heart with this is what we want to do. And I think that first year, when we technically started, we say we started on Emma's 7th birthday, so in May. So we only had half of a year that first year. We helped 10 families in that 6 months. But the guy we had lunch with kind of sat across from the table and looked at us and said, you guys, you're going to be national one day. This is such an amazing, or concept, whatever. We were just starting, idea. And this, I don't think anybody else is doing this. This is going to get really big. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. We're just, we're here in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I was like, I just want to help one family. If I help one family, and now because we've grown so much, it feels like that dream or that big lofty goal that was kind of spoken to us in the beginning is currently happening. We send care packages all over the country. Our counselor does grief coaching all over the country. We have a podcast my executive director and I do called Confessions of a Grieving Mother, and that's heard all over the world. So it's kind of mind-blowing to think that that crazy goal that was spoken to us in the beginning, or that crazy vision, is happening, and I feel like it's just getting started.
Could you tell us more about that podcast?
Yes. So Confessions of a Grieving Mother, and it's my executive director, Julie Swanson, and I. We're the co-hosts, and it's such a powerful tool. We invite, families on. Most of the episodes are mothers. There's some we do dads, and some we've done as with couples, mom and dad on there. And we just give space for that mom or mom and dad to tell their story of their baby. And it's just so beautiful. And we're trying to educate, family and friends on kind of how to sit with the family in those moments. And so we'll have our LCSW Pam Pressler, we'll have her on for some episodes. We've had a midwife on, a nurse. So we try to have different points, in the grieving process from their point of view. But it's just such a beautiful tool. And what's cool is when we get a new family, when a family calls and says they just had a loss, our director of bereavement, Amanda Burke, who answers our Emma phone, she can give this resource. And so a family can listen in the privacy of their own home. We know it's scary to, sign up for a therapy session or come to support group in our office, but they can listen to these podcasts. And we have had such a phenomenal response. Most of the emails we get say, hey, I just found your podcast. I binged all your episodes. Can I be on your podcast? And so we get a lot of emails like that. And it's just really humbling. We're in, I think, season 6. We've been doing it for a little over 2 years. So we have,
Wow.
over 80 episodes. So we just try to tell different stories, whether it's, a stillbirth or an early term pregnancy loss or a SIDS loss, or multiple losses. And we try to, because there's a lot of different types of either pregnancy loss, or infant loss. So we just try to tell a lot of different stories, so people can find, hey, this was my story. I want to listen to that, mom. And it's been super comforting for the families that have listened to it.
And that touches close to home because if you can't, I know you can't tell, but I have a form of dwarfism called hypochondroplasia. With little people, there's always a chance that there's what's called double dominant gene, where if 2 little people get married, go on to do that, there's a 1 in 4 chance or 25% chance this child could inherit both dwarfisms, which I don't know if you've ever heard of this subject before, but it could really be a short-term pregnancy, or it can really be something, like it can be like a short life with a lot of complications. So that touches home. I'm glad you speak on those subjects, that you're not afraid to go into those deeper areas, because that can happen to anyone,
Yeah, and it's, for Julie and I, it's just such an honor to be able to hear that, these moms, their hearts, and they share a lot of details with us that they're not able to share with their family and friends, and really let us in on what that looks like. And to your point, these hard decisions, and these places they never thought they would have been in, decisions they would have to make with their baby, or conversations that you just can't even wrap your mind around and you can't plan for, but it's just an honor for us to walk beside them.
Is there a story that you could share with our buddies now that really put an impact on you, that really, really touched you in a good way, like really like gives you motivation today? Anything like that you could share with us?
Well, there's many, but one that comes to my mind, there's a mom that had, she lost her son during delivery. I want to say 7 years ago, in November, and it's, I remember the babies' names because we've helped so many families. Somebody will say, hey, did you help so-and-so? And I'll be like, what was their baby's name? And they'll tell me, like, yep, I remember that. So moms and dads, it's hard to remember, but this specific family. So I remember going to this family's house. I got a call that, their little guy had died. It was November. Went to their house. It was their first child. And watching them, helping to support and encourage them through their loss. Support group, our therapist, the mom joined our finance committee team. I would see her at church. I knew she went to our church. And she has learned how to grieve. They went on to have two little girls, and watching her take new moms under her wing and create this relationship, like this friendship that would have never happened, except for their two babies that unfortunately died. And then like the beautiful relationship that happens. And now they each support each other. The one mom, her and her family and her support system, they make treats for homeless people and they drop them off at the mission. And so, the other mom has started helping her do that to, honor her baby. And then the second mom started doing things in memory of her baby. She would she just did this in January was his birthday. Little Logan died of a SIDS loss, but his birthday was in January, and she started collecting birthday cakes and birthday frosting for his birthday and dropping them off at the food bank. And so I wish I had on hand the amount of birthday cake and frosting that they just dropped off in memory of Logan is like mind blowing. But watching these two moms in their loss and their tragedy become friends, and watching them each, we call it like parenting our children that are not here, watching them each, love each other and parent each of their child that is not here, and creating this bond and this friendship. It's really humbling, and it brings me to tears that this is the community that we're creating. And it's just so beautiful to watch.
That is awesome. I love it when an organization just like this, just like Emma's Footprints or Buddycast, bring people together in those supportive ways, Like, would you ever have dreamed about
powerful.
this when you first kicked off, would you ever dream of making this much of an impact?
No, never. I still can't. I still have to pinch myself. Like I said before,
Mm-hmm.
like, if I just help one family, then my pain is worth it. But we've helped a lot more families.
Mm-hmm.
And just recognizing the need for this community, and again, to educate family and friends on how to walk beside a family member that's gone through this. And also, it does not, for our mission, it does not matter when your loss happened. So we've helped families, pregnancy and infant loss, this has been happening since the beginning of time, unfortunately. And so it affects, generationally. But we've helped families that have had losses like 30 years ago, and they could never afford a headstone for their baby, and we've paid for the headstone. And so it does not matter when the loss was. The only thing we can't do is pay for the funeral, obviously, if it's been 30 years, but we can pay for a headstone, we can pay for counseling sessions, we can still do our other mission expenses. They can come to support group, they can get involved with us. So I love that too, because I'll meet people, and they'll ask me what I'll do, and I'll tell them, I co-founded Emma's Footprints, and a lot of times they'll say, oh my gosh, I had a loss, I wish you were around when I had my loss. And I'm like, we're right here. Just because it's been X amount of years, I'm like, come on in, come hang out with us. So I love that we can help the families now that need that immediate help in the beginning, but we can help families where they've had to struggle alone for decades.
I love hearing that. I love that fact that no matter how long it's been, it's because you're right. It can, I can't imagine it, but it could still weigh on your heart. And that's the biggest thing, is when people out there, they're alone, they're scared. Like, everyone knows what it's like to lose this, but no one knows what it's like to lose I lost my grandfather, 2014, still is on my heart to this day. But I've met someone, I went through all those like myths in your head that this is only your battle. This is only, you're the only one dealing with this type of thing. Da, 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 da. I went on a missionary journey and met someone who, to the bone, knew exactly what I was going through.
Oh, I love that. Isn't it? That's how we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're really not alone. And when we, find that community, it's so healing.
Mm-hmm. And just like C.S. Lewis says, true friendship is born when one friend says to another, "You too? I thought I was the only one."
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, magic happens.
Mm-hmm. where can we learn more about Emma's Footprints? Where can our buddies who are listening to this or watching the rerun go to find your services?
You can go to our website, emmasfootprints.com. We have a beautiful website put together by my executive director, Julie Swanson. Or we have an Instagram page, Emma's Footprints. We have a Facebook page. You can call. We have an Emma. We call it the Emma Bat phone. So Emma has her own phone number, and that's on our website. You know, if you're listening to this and this is hitting home and you've had a pregnancy or infant loss, you know, it can be hard to call. You can text the Emma phone number or email us, or maybe a family member has gone through this or a coworker and you have some questions. Please feel free, again, text the phone number. You can call the phone number. You can email us. You can send us a message. It's super easy to get connected to us.
Wonderful. And that's emmasfootprints.com. So, buddy, I have 2 more questions for you. The first one, first off, you're not a guest. You're a buddy. Please know that.
Love that.
So, my buddy Jonas Kane from #Positivity wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Ooh. Is it more than one word? Can I say more than one word, or do I get one word?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think being somebody's buddy, it can ignite healing. I mean, just how you spoke to it, you feel so alone, and just having that buddy and that person next to you that either understands what you're going through or is willing to sit with you in the mess and in the hard, it really is it will change the trajectory of someone's life.
Wonderful answer. You're right. The buddies, like we said, is the one that says, you too?
Exactly.
So, buddy, we've come to what's called the Ultimate Buddycast buddy question. I'm going to split this one into 2 parts for you. You ready for this?
Yep, let's do it.
Alrighty. First part is, what is your advice to anyone who is watching out there who has gone through all of this, who's gone through a lot, who's, done that? What's your ultimate advice to them? You spoke a lot about it, but what's your ultimate advice right here, right now?
Your baby matters. Your baby is important. Your baby is loved. And to find a community that echoes that and helps you walk through that.
Wonderful advice. And what about for someone out there who has a dream of starting their own nonprofit, whether it be whatever mission they want to start? What's your advice to them?
Well, I Googled it, so you can go to Google. Just kidding. If you feel like this was laid on my heart, and I tried to tell God no a couple times, He didn't listen. But if there's something that's laid on your heart, continue. Just go for it. It's hard. I feel ill-equipped most days and not prepared, and I don't know what I'm doing. But if it's on your heart and it's a passion, go forward. And also, kind of like the buddy thing, find other people that have gone before you in this and get their advice and get their wisdom. Because what is on your heart is important, and it's necessary, and it's needed.
Wonderful advice. Well, buddy, thank you for spending the time to be a buddy here on Buddycast. Very impacting episode. I hope whoever watches the rerun really lays it on their heart to either reach out to somebody or have someone reach out to them, just some way, somehow, this episode connects buddies together. Thank you for helping us with this mission.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And to anybody listening,
of course,
like my buddy said, reach out if you need us.
And buddy, I have one favor to ask you before we close out this episode. First off, stick around. We'll chat for a minute afterwards.
Okay.
But secondly, whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, even next year, please promise me you'll go and be someone's buddy.
You have my promise.
Awesome. For all my buddies out there, this is my new buddy, Tracy Daily. Please check out Emma's footprints. Please send him a donation for their wonderful organization. Every little bit helps, am I right?
It does, yep.
I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Thank you for joining us on another wonderful episode of Buddycast. Go be someone's buddy. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. But don't be nutty, go make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.